Hi and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today I'll be doing a review and a tutorial of a Casio GG 1000, better known as the MUDMASTER. But before we move on, I just wanted to thank Silvertime Watch Store for supplying this watch, and also if you want to check them out, you can click on the link in the description. Also in the description you will find a table of content with time codes so you can jump to specific parts of the video if you don't feel like watching the whole thing. Now going back to the watch, the GG 1000 is one of two watches that make the MUDMASTER series, and this is the simpler one. The other one is the GWG 1000. That means that this one lacks certain features and functions compared to the other one. So this is a regular battery operated G Shock, while the other one is solar powered and atomic, meaning that it's self-adjusting and self-charging. Also, when it comes to the functions, as you can see on the band, this is a twin sensor model, meaning that it has only a compass and thermometer, while the GWG is a triple sensor, meaning that on top of that, it also comes with a barometer and altimeter. Now, when it comes to other features, this one has a mineral crystal and a stamped case back that you can find on most G-Shocks today. However, the GWG comes with a sapphire and also with a milled case back, making it a bit tougher and a bit prettier to look at. Now, all these additions to the GWG come at a price, so it's more than double the price of this, which makes this a pretty affordable option if you want to get a MUDMASTER. It also seems more logical as a G-Shock because the GWG is a bit pricey for a watch you buy to take a beating. Now, I'm not saying it can't take a beating, it can take whatever you throw at it, but I would be reluctant to take such an expensive watch through a rough environment. Now, the GG 1000, although simpler, actually has a whole lot of functions. So you have the world time function with 31 time zones and 48 cities. You get a 24-hour stopwatch that goes down to 1/100,000 of a second. You have a 60-minute countdown timer, 5 alarms, and like I said, a compass and thermometer. So a pretty good package all in all. Now, the MUDMASTER series are marketed as one of the toughest in the G-Shock world, and upon receiving this in my hands, I have to admit that I feel the same way. I mean, this is rugged on a completely different level compared to other G-Shocks. Like I did a review of the GA 110 last week, and that just had some feeling of lightness, but this, although on paper just slightly heavier than that, actually feels a lot more substantial. I especially love the feel of the strap because it's thicker than unusual on normal G-Shocks, and also it feels kind of denser. Now, I don't know if Casio used a special, I mean, I don't know if Casio changed the formula for it, but it really does feel different, and I mean that in a good way. It's also very comfortable on the wrist, and it comes with this double tank buckle just like all the other in the Master series. The other thing that I like is the use of these wings underneath, because they make the case and the strap curve around the wrist better, and it makes this watch wearable even on a smaller wrist. In fact, I was amazed that a watch of this size can feel so comfortable and so good on a small wrist like mine. Now, I personally always wear smaller watches and like smaller watches, but when it comes to G-Shocks, you cannot apply the same rules because they're meant to be big and they kind of never look oversized on a wrist. And this is why I love them, even though they really dwarf my other watches, especially this one. I mean, this one has a diameter of 55.3 with a lug-to-lug of 56.2, so it's huge. The thickness is 17.3 and it comes in at 94 grams, which is pretty substantial for a G-Shock. Now, the crystal is recessed just like on all other G-Shocks. However, since this is a premium line, they added this shiny iron-plated ring with the direction degrees written on it. And it really does look nice and adds a bit of luxury to the watch. The only question is durability, or how long will it look like this before you scratch it up. Now, the text, the color of the text on this ring and on the bezel, as you see, is kind of sand colored. And I really like it that they didn't go for the usual white, because this is more discreet and just works with the watch better. Now we come on to the buttons. The buttons are also very large and easy to press even if you wear gloves. However, they're still well protected by the bezel. Now they're metal and they feature multiple gaskets to achieve the mud resistance. They also are constructed in a different way than on regular G-Shocks, so they're not simply inserted into holes in a resin case. Instead, these steel tubes are welded to the case and then the buttons are inserted through those tubes, which should ensure a smoother operation, and they really do feel nice when you press them. Now the dedicated compass button, as you can see, features this red line running around it. It's to help it differentiate from other buttons and also to match both the red seconds hand that's used for the compass and the red comp marker on the function subdial. So another example of a well-executed color coding, which I'm a big fan of when done correctly, like on this watch. Now the dial is my favorite part of the watch because although it's very busy, telling time is always easy because of these bold markers and hands. And this is how you should do a complicated watch, because the complications should not detract from nor harm the ease of time telling. And with this, they really don't. In fact, although I'm not a big fan of these of negative displays, I would actually prefer this to have a negative digital display because it would make the hands stand out even more and make them even more legible. Now at the same time, the reading of this digital display would be more difficult, but the fact is that 95% of the time you're just going to use this watch for basic time telling, meaning using the hands. And with these digital displays, yes, you're going to play with them for the first couple of months, but then after that you're just going to use some functions occasionally, so having it negative would not really affect you that much. Now because of these bold hands and bold markers that are done in white, even though this watch also uses the LED at the bottom of the screen, which I'm really not a big fan of, on this watch it actually helps in the nighttime visibility. But even if you didn't use the LED, this watch is still going to be visible because it uses proper lume. I mean, I'm talking Seiko levels of lume, and it's also very generously applied, unlike the GA110 I did a review of last week. So it's really, there isn't a situation where you won't be able to tell the time on this watch. And then we come to the module, and this watch uses the module 5476, which comes with two SR927 batteries. Now they're rated to 2 years, but since Casio usually underestimates the battery performance, I believe you can expect 3 to 5 years unless you use all the functions every day. Now when it comes to the module, as I was playing around with it, I noticed it was very similar to watch I already reviewed. In fact, it was way too similar. So I came to the conclusion that they actually reused the module from the GA1000. Now, I'll put a picture of the GA1000 on the side so you can compare them. And although at first it might not seem that evident, if I flip this watch around, you will notice that there are a lot of similarities. So as you can see, the time is in the same position. Also, the day of the week is in the same position, although on the GA it's put more into the center, while here they moved it down, or should I say up. Also, the subdial, the function subdial, not only is it in the same position, but the functions are in the same positions as on the GA, especially the comp button. So in fact, the only difference is that this bearing display on the GA, it's curved to make a sad face, while on this, as you can see, it's straight. But other than that, all the functions and operation of all the functions is exactly the same between the two. So if you're familiar with the GA, you will feel at home with the GG. Now we'll move on to the tutorial, but before I do, I just wanted to warn you about the fakes of these watches, because these are the best fakes I've seen so far. Not only does it have all the same functions as this watch, but they even managed to nail the auto light function, meaning that when you tilt the watch, the fakes are also gonna light up. Although this was the first sign that you have a fake if this didn't work. However, they obviously advanced a bit in technology, so now they can do that as well. So there are only two ways to distinguish a fake from the original. Now the fake is going to have these two buttons switched, meaning that to enter the adjusting mode, you're not going to press the adjust mode, but on a fake you're going to have to press and hold this lower button. And also to change the values on the original, you're going to use these two buttons, but on a fake you're going to use these two. That's the first difference. The second difference is that the seconds hand on a fake is directly connected to the minute and hour hand, meaning when you use the compass, you will see the hour and minute hand move as well. Also, when you change the time on a fake, you're going to have to wait quite some time for the hands to catch up the digital display, because like I said, they're directly connected. So the seconds hand is going to have to spin real fast, and then it's going to pull the minute hand behind itself, and then the hour hand. So it's very slow. While on the original, the seconds hand is independent and has its own motor. So when you use the compass, it only moves the seconds hand, while the minute and hour hand are stationary. Also on the original, when you change the time, the hands are a lot faster because you only have to wait for the minute and hour hands to move. Like I said, the seconds hand is stationary. So that's the only two ways to tell a fake from the original. Okay, so now we're going to move on with the tutorial. And the first thing that we're going to do, like usual, is going to check the hands position and correct them if they're not incorrect. So this watch is also very easy to check the hands, because while in the home time, this little arrow should point to the time, and the hands, the hour, minute, and second hand should also be in sync with the digital display. So now you're going to ask me, but what if this is messed up? How will I know that I'm in the home time? No matter what mode you're in, as long as you're not adjusting anything, so let's just move somewhere else, just press and hold the mode button for more than 2 seconds, and the watch is going to beep twice and take you back to the home time. So press and hold. There. And now you know that the watch is in the home time. So as you can see, this subdial is messed up because it's not showing to the time. And also the hour, minute, and second hand are all out of sync. So we need to correct all of these. If they were all matching and showing correctly, you can just skip this part. Okay, so to adjust the hands, you press and hold the adjust button for more than 5 seconds. So you have to ignore the first beep that the watch is going to do by entering the adjust mode. You just keep pressing, and then it's going to go into the hand setting mode. So press and hold, ignore the first beep, there, and hold, there. This is the second beep. Now we're in the hand setting mode, and the first thing that the watch offers is the seconds hand. As you can see, it's blinking 00. So now you can move it forwards and backwards with these two buttons, and you can also speed scroll by pressing and holding, and then the hand is going to move by itself until you stop it. So there. Now let's just stop it and put it to midnight, to 0. Now pressing the mode is going to move to the next, the hour and minute hand. Now they should stop at midnight, but if they're not correct, they're going to miss their mark. Again, you change them with these forwards and backwards, and again you can do the speed scrolling, pressing, and it's going to keep spinning until you stop it. So let's just wait until they spin all the way. There. Now we need to get them to 0, because as you can see, the digital display says that they should show at midnight. Okay, so backwards, no, we're going to go forwards and stop it. And now we just align them. There. And the next one is this. Now this subdial in the hand setting mode should point to 12 o'clock, also upright. But as you can see, it doesn't. So we're just going to return it, and you can set it up the same as all these. There. Now this is how the watch should look in the hand setting mode when everything's perfectly aligned. If you missed any of these, you can toggle with the mode button between different hands, and as you can see, the watch shows you which hands you're currently setting up by slightly moving them. Once you've set up and aligned everything, you press the adjust mode, and the watch is gonna go back with the hands and everything. So as you can see, the subdial is already correct because it's back to the time, and now we're gonna see the hour and minute hands also get to their place. Now sometimes you're gonna have the date displayed here, but you just toggle that with the adjust button. So you can toggle between the date and the time. So now when we switch to the time, as you can see, 1329, and the seconds hand is in sync with the digital display. So everything's okay with this watch. Now we can move on to setting up the actual time. Now to set up the time, you press and hold the adjust button for 3 seconds or until the first beep. So press and hold, and there. You just entered the setting mode. Now the first thing that watch is going to offer is the time zone or your home city. And this is important to set up correctly because the world time function is directly connected to this. So if you mess this up, the world time function is going to be incorrect. So to move, you go east or west with these two buttons. So you can go forwards or backwards. You can also speed scroll by holding this, either of the buttons. Okay, so now let's just select Paris, as that's my time zone. Now pressing the mode button is going to go to the next setting. So the next one is the DST, or daylight savings time, summertime. So you toggle it with the lower button on or off. And as you can see, when you put it to on, the time also changes accordingly. And when the DST is on in the home time, you're going to have this DST on the screen all the time. Now we'll leave it on because it is on. Now moving on, pressing the mode button, now we move to the 12 and 24-hour display. Again, you toggle it with the lower button. So you can choose the 12-hour display, then you're going to have the AM and PM indicator, or you can have the 24-hour display, meaning that it's the military time. Okay, pressing the mode again, you move to the seconds, and now if you reset the seconds with the lower button. If you do it after 30 seconds, like now, the minutes are going to move by 1 up, so it's going to be 32 here, and the seconds are going to go to 0. So let's do it. There. However, if you reset the seconds before 30 seconds, or up to 29, like let's say now, they're going to reset to 0, but the minutes are going to stay unchanged. So let's just do it now. As you can see, they're at 0, the minutes have been unchanged. Okay, I'm pressing the mode button. You move to the hours. Again, you can go up or down, and you can also speed scroll by holding it, as you can see. There. Now pressing the mode again, you move to the minutes. Again, you can go up or down, so you can move them to whatever you want. Pressing the mode again, you come to the year. Again, up and down. Then you move on to the month. Again, you move to the date. Again, you can change it. The day is calculated automatically. Now pressing the mode again takes you to the ketone settings. So now with the lower button, you can toggle the ketone or the mute function. With the ketone on, you're going to hear the watch operate as you press the button. If you select the mute function, you're going to have a little mute indicator here, and the watch is not going to make any sound while you operate the buttons. The alarm and countdown timer are still going to make the sound. Okay, let's leave it on. And pressing the mode again, now you come to the light selection. This is the duration of the LED. Once you press this, if it's at 1, the afterglow is going to be 1.5 seconds. If you toggle it to 3, the light is going to stay on for 3 seconds. We'll leave it at 3. And now pressing the mode again comes back to the home time selection. So if you miss any of the settings or you mess them up, you can just cycle with the mode button until you reach them again to correct it. Once you've completed the setup, you just press the adjust button and the watch will exit the setup, and the hands are going to move to match again the digital display. And this pretty much completes the setup of the time. Okay, so while in the home time, pressing the lower button is going to take you through the thermometer. There, and the watch is going to read the temperature. Now the thermometer, in order for it to be accurate, you're going to have to take the watch off for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, the heat from your wrist is going to get transferred to the watch, and it's not going to be accurate. Now, while in the thermometer mode, you can do two things. You can calibrate the thermometer to correct if the reading is incorrect. So if you have an accurate thermometer by your side, you can correct the watch, and you can select the units, whether to be in degrees centigrade or Fahrenheit. So to do that, while in the thermometer mode, you press and hold the adjust. And the first thing the watch is going to offer is for you to change the temperature, so to calibrate it if it's incorrect. You do it with the up and down button, like right here. Now, if the temperature is okay and you just want to change the units, you press the mode button, and now the watch asks you which unit you want, and with the lower button you can go to Fahrenheit or centigrade. And that's it. Pressing the adjust exits the adjusting of the thermometer. Now, to go back to the home time, you just press the lower button again. And there, the watch just went back to the home time. Now pressing the upper button is going to activate the illuminator, or the little LED down there. And also pressing and holding it is going to activate the auto light, because this watch does feature an auto light function, meaning that when you put the watch straight and you tilt it to your face, it's going to light up. Now, to turn it on, like I said, hold this for more than 3 seconds, and the little LT is going to show right here. And now, as you can see, if you put it level and tilt it to your face, the watch is going to light up. Now, since this is not a solar watch, this function is going to turn itself off automatically after 6 hours to save the battery life. Or you can manually turn it off by pressing and holding the light button again more than 3 seconds until the little LT disappears. And that's about it. Now, in the home time, pressing the adjust, like I said, toggles between the date and the date display. And then you have the dedicated compass button, while in the home time, if you press it, or any other mode, if you press it, you're going to activate the compass. And for the next 20 seconds, the watch is going to read the direction with the seconds hand is going to be pointing to the north, and over here you're going to have the direction that you're pointing at, written which direction of the world it is and the degrees of it. And that's pretty much it. Whenever you want to restart the compass, you simply press the COM button and the new cycle of 20 seconds begins. Now, this watch also has a bearing function, meaning that if you go into the woods or trekking or something and you want to go in that direction, you don't have to remember this number and the direction that you were heading to. You just press the lower button and the bearing is going to be stored in this little screen. So now as you can see, they're stored, and then you use the bearing screen, this little one here, and it's going to be full like this when you're pointing in the right direction, like now. However, if you deviate from your direction, you can see this line shows you where your direction should be. So you know you have to return. Now let's just restart it. So you know that you have to return that way to come back to align with the direction that you chose. And as you can see, as soon as you align and you're on the right track, this screen is going to go black. So it works in both directions. So this little line just shows you where your desired direction is. So like in video games. Also, if you note, restarting the compass does not affect the stored bearing. So it's always stored until you clear it. Now to clear it, you just press the lower button again. And as you can see, this screen turns into the sides of the world display, and you have no stored bearing. Again, you select the new direction, you press this, and now this bearing is stored and it's displayed on this little one, on this little screen here. So let's just cancel it. While in the compass mode, you can do two things when it comes to calibration. First, you can calibrate the compass, and you can enter the magnetic declination. So to calibrate the compass, you press and hold the adjust button. And once the watch enters the calibration mode, you have to press the comp button while holding the watch in one direction. And then you wait for the watch to do its calibration and write OK on the screen. If it writes ERR or error, you have to repeat. If it writes OK, this little line is going to go the other way around, telling you to turn the watch 180 degrees, as you can see, for the second calibration. So now you just turn the watch 180 degrees and press the comp button again. And now the watch repeats the calibration in that direction as well. If everything's okay, it's going to write OK on the screen. If it's not, you're going to have to repeat everything. Now we just wait. As you can see, it wrote OK, so we calibrated the compass, no problem. The other thing that you can do in the calibration is when you press and hold the adjust button, by pressing the mode, you move to the magnetic declination. Now this is the difference in degrees between a magnetic north and true north. And some maps, usually topographic ones, which are very precise, have the magnetic declination written on them. If you use such a map, you should enter the magnetic declination that's written on the map into the watch, because then the direction the watch shows is going to be a lot more precise to use in coordination with that map. So you can move it with these two buttons. You can go due east or due west in degrees, depending on the amount of the magnetic declination. If a map doesn't have a magnetic declination written on it, that means that it's not using true north but magnetic north, so you can just leave it off like this. Anyways, once you've completed everything, you just press the adjust button and return to the compass. To go back to the home time, you just press the mode button. And there. Now when it comes to the other functions, you cycle with the mode button through them. So pressing the mode is going to take us to the world time function. And like I said, this watch has 31 time zones and 48 cities. Now unfortunately, you cannot go backwards with this button because it activates the light. You can only go due east when it comes to the cities and time zones. However, unlike the GA110 that I reviewed last week, where if you miss your time zone, you have to go all the way around the globe to come back, with this watch, you can press these two simultaneously and it's going to take you back to the UTC, or Universal Time, so the Greenwich Mean Time. So it takes you halfway back, and now you can go again if you missed. So you really don't have to go all the way around, but wherever you are, pressing these two is going to take you back to the UTC. Now the other thing that you can do while in this world time mode is you can activate the DST, or daylight savings time, for each time zone individually by pressing and holding the adjust button. So there, it just activated, the DST is written here, and the time has changed accordingly. However, it did not affect the other time zones, as you can see. And you can also turn it off by simply pressing and holding the adjust again. Anyways, that completes the world time. Now, pressing the mode button, we move on to the stopwatch. And this watch, like I said, has a 24-hour stopwatch with 1/100th of a second precision. The hours are written here, the hundredths of seconds here, the seconds and the minutes. You can start it. It's a classic split stopwatch, meaning that you can start it, stop it with the lower button, reset it with the adjust. You can do the split time. So you start, you press the adjust, and the screen just freezes, but the stopwatch keeps going. So you can resume it by pressing the adjust again. And you can do the first and second place. When the first runner goes through the finish line, you press the adjust. When the second one goes through, you press the start stop. And now you write the time of the first one, press the adjust button, it shows you the time of the second one, and then pressing the adjust resets the stopwatch. Then we have the countdown timer, and unfortunately it's just a 60-minute countdown timer, 1 hour, which is a shame. I wish they used the 24-hour one. So while like this, pressing it, it's going to just start to counting down from 1 hour. You can stop it, you can reset it. When it reaches the 0, it's going to start beeping, and naturally you can select any minute from 1 minute to 60 minutes by pressing and holding the adjust. And now you can move up and down. And pressing the mode button doesn't do anything because you can only set up the minutes from 1 to 60. Now when you've set up the timer to the desired time, you press the adjust button, and now you can again start it with this. And finally we have the alarm function. Like I said, this watch features 5 alarms. As you can see over here, you have written AL1. You cycle through the alarms with the lower button. So alarm 1, alarm 2, alarm 3, alarm 4. The 5th one is the snooze alarm. That's why it says SNZ. And that alarm keeps going off until you manually turn it off here in the alarm function. So once the watch starts beeping, you can turn off the alarm by pressing any of the buttons. However, the snooze alarm is going to go off after another 5 minutes. Like I said, until you come here and turn it off here. And you have the hourly chime, which is marked as a SIG. Now, each one of these can be turned on or off by pressing the adjust button while you're at them. So alarm 1, press, and you're going to turn on the alarm 1. Moving to the alarm, let's say 3, press the adjust, you can turn it on or off. Now, as long as one of the alarms is on, you're going to have this little symbol displayed here. If you go to the snooze alarm, and turn that on, you're going to have both this symbol and the SNZ written right here. And if you go to the hourly chime, pressing the adjust, you're going to have this bell symbol written here. So this is really retro because this is what Casio used to use on their older G-Shocks. Anyways, like this, the alarm is going to be on, the snooze alarm is going to be on, and the watch is going to beep every hour. Now, each one of these alarms can naturally be set up to the desired time by pressing and holding the adjust button. And then the watch is going to ask you the hours. You can go up and down. Pressing the mode moves to the minutes. And again, you can go up and down. Once you've set up to the desired time, you press the adjust button, and that's it. Pressing the mode button, again, returns you back to the home time. Anyways, this pretty much completes the review and the tutorial of this watch. So thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. And until the next video, bye.